you doing? You ready to do a show? Greg, are you there? Yeah, as they say in Italian, you look bellissimo. Oh, we're recording. Oh, hello everyone. This is Luca Majno. This is Frank Gregory Ford with us again for a global news update on TLBTB, courtesy of the Liberty Beacon Project. And this is where we give you complete and backstage up-to-date info as to the developments occurring in our world today. Greg, how are you doing tonight?
I am in fine form. I'm always ready to go. It's beautiful on the ocean. Okay, so let's just do this. All right, so I can't wait. And congratulations, by the way, on our 100th presentation that we've had.
Yes, I do have to agree. It was a stunning one. It was good. It was very a-propos, as they say in French. So, shall we start with Snapshot, or did you want to say something before we?
No, as always. Hey, Snapshot gets everybody warmed up to the indignations of how the American public has been deceived for 200 years plus.
Yes. I'm already disturbed. Please come in. This is exactly how I feel every day. You know, do not disturb. You always see do not disturb on the signs. So, yeah, this is always what we see. I want to talk about the word government for a minute, because I find this really interesting. This is their signature. Uncaring and violent parents create a mirror in their children, right? Well, same here. Society is lost, violent, defensive, judgmental, arrogant, rude, and apathetic, just like the ones who taught them in school. Okay, so what does government mean? Well, government means, it's a derivative of a Latin verb, governo, governare, meaning to control, and the Latin noun mens, mentis, meaning the mind, to control the mind. Poor Greg, I'm not teaching him anything, but this is just to show you, this is probably level 1 for him. And it makes everybody think, oh, wow, government is so impressive, the pillars of power and the pillars of truth. Well, let's go up north for a minute. Let's visit Canada for a second. And I want to talk about status Indians. And this is very close, if not a model of the way that America saw its indigenous people. Now pay attention here. Status Indians, okay? What qualifies as a status Indians? Well, they're wards of the state. In other words, they're, mentally retarded. They can't take care of themselves. Status Indians were not deemed to be people under the laws of Canada, and therefore were denied certain rights that other Canadians enjoyed. Status Indians could become persons only by voluntary enfranchisement. I hate that word, enfranchisement. I get the goosebumps even talking like this about this stuff. By relinquishing their Indian status. Only then would they be allowed to vote, own property, or have the rights of other Canadian citizens. So this is, it's very easy to do because, hey, it's called the Indian Act, 1876. And you should check it out because you can see it in English or in French as you'd like. And it works really well. Well, it doesn't work really well anymore, actually. But we did do it in Australia with the indigenous people there. And, well, we're doing it with the Palestinians in Gaza. So it should be working pretty good. Oh, okay. I just love this comment, Greg. I have to say this very quickly. There's a comment from the Florida shooting drill / false flag that a person put up as a comment on social media, and I have to read it very carefully and very slowly. And like Greg always says, are you listening? Turn up your volume. People are in for a big shock in this country if nothing changes. This is a quote from him. Yet people against guns happily watch Americans murder people globally, then cry when it happens to them, but ignore the wars and all the dead people. I wish these shootings would happen every day in America so that when, that way Americans would know when they would know what the people of the countries invaded by their government feel. Poor America, 20 people killed. Let's ignore the 500,000 people or the 500,000 children murdered by the U.S. in Iraq and their allies. Shame, 20 children were murdered in America. Let's all bleed for Americans who happily support their government killing these 500,000 children. F off with this liberal BS. And this is not counting all the other atrocities committed by, so few to so many. Stop your government killing children in foreign countries, and we might give a beep about your shootings in America. And unquote. Okay, so I put after that, I said yes. And I, Luca, would like to add the over 30 million people killed by the US and their allies, killed for profit since the end of World War II. So much for that. And this is what we're doing, and this is what we have done. Satanic plan to slaughter millions and displace huge populations to poverty. And they're so bold and so pretentious that they come out with it in public. We're going to take out 7 countries in 5 years.
That's right.
Starting with Iraq, then Syria, then Lebanon, then Libya, Somalia, Sudan, and finishing off Iran. Okay? Look at what we're doing here. Taliban cuts 2001 opium production to nothing. When the U.S. invades, opium production back on track. Right. Back on track. Well, let's talk about drugs for a minute then, very quickly. This is called PHARMAGEDDON for a good reason, Greg. It really is. I thought that was priceless. I saw that word today. I never even knew it existed. Excuse me, gun control? Oh, okay. And by the way, who started the drug war anyway? Heroin now kills more people than guns with 50,000 fatal overdoses. Okay. Pablo Escobar's son reveals his dad worked for the CIA selling cocaine. Oops. Right? So, I mean, all we have to do is research and we see where this is coming from. I have a good question to close off Snapshot very quickly. What does the world die from? Okay? What does the world die from? I want people to look at number 2 and down further than number 2. This is just the United States, cause of death. I think cannabis is somewhere down on the bottom. But if you look at these causes of death, think of how many big pharma are responsible for. Think of how many chemtrails are responsible for, fluoride, all the things that they're doing wrong. And now we hear that the House passes a bill to microchip citizens with mental disabilities. Oh, okay, this is how it starts, right? They do it very slowly. They do it to people that they deem perhaps wards of the state, like Canada and its Indian Act. Oh, I'm all for total gun control and trusting the government to protect you. After all, it worked great for us. Right? This was the first false flag shooting. Nobody ever mentioned it. 28 guardsmen fired 67 rounds in 13 seconds into unarmed children. This was the first false flag. Problem, reaction, solution. This is really important because we talked about this last show. Greg, look at this. The kids are screaming with posters on the side of the road. Ban assault rifles. Ban assault rifles. I said to myself, yeah, you know what? They're playing into the hand of the elite. That's exactly what they want to do. That's the problem. You cause the problem, which is the mass shooting. Then you get the reaction of the kids, which is exactly that. And then what do? Oh, gun control. No problem at all. Then you just dumb them down, completely have them lose their identity. They sit together. They don't even talk anymore. Okay, well, tell you what, why don't we ban cars, okay? 115 people die each day, 1 million hurt every year. My God, we have to ban cars. Why don't we ban people like this too? Have you heard about this one, Greg? This moron from a few years ago? He actually said that, when God created man, he took the rib out of man to make woman. He says, women are a lesser cut of meat than men are. And a senator saying something like that, I really think we should think about that. And this was verified and authenticated. That's exactly what he said. Women are a lesser cut of meat. Okay, you're damn right we're living in a patriarchal society. Greg, check this out. These are patents. And a friend of mine said, perfect stock futures for missile builders and big pharma stockholders. I thought that was interesting. Apparently, he got that from Anonymous. A patent on all of those. They have to, control who gets what. And then a really good picture of Kushner. And a friend of mine, he writes on top of that, he said, imagine that, a fanatical Zionist, Talmudist Jew in the White House gobbling up all the top-level intelligence information he can grab, every bit of it undoubtedly going directly to Israel. Absolutely.
And by the way, that arrow goes both ways.
Yes.
All right? Yes, he has unlimited access to highly classified information at any moment, all right, and transmit in a secure fashion to Israel. You could bet he has an open channel to Israel. Remember what happened when Bibi Netanyahu saw this Jared Kushner on a press club meeting?
Absolutely.
Absolutely. Hey, homie, don't you know me? Pardon me. Was this guy vetted for by the intelligence services? I don't think he was.
It's so obvious. But Greg, quickly to finish off Snapshot, I wanted to talk about something a bit more important as far as history goes. A museum in Quebec found they're called two right-handed shoes for children, but there's no left and there's no right. These were straight on. They don't look like they were either left or right. It's interesting. And they also had heels on them. That's from the Museum of New France. And quickly to leave on a good note, this is something I come across every day, and I'm sure that people with a higher IQ might go through the same thing. They come across people that just judge all the time. They're always pointing the fingers. Well, for them, I say tonight, I think thinking is difficult. That's why people judge all the time. They always do. My grandmother said, when you point, you have 3 pointed back at you. So there you go.
Well, thank you. Good. Very good. Now, what was the age on those shoes?
Oh, good question. I'll let you know next show. Good question.
Okay.
I like doing stuff like that.
I'm kind of fascinated by this show. It's called Curse of Oak Island. It's the Canadian island off of, Newfoundland. And what it is they keep coming up with all these, it's supposedly there's a treasure there. And it's supposed to be a Knights Templar treasure. And what they keep coming up with is pretty amazing. Things that go back to the 14, 15, 100s and sooner, okay, like from 1250 to 1300. And that's in the New World, okay? And obviously by the dates, that is before that time-honored creditor of discovering America, Christoph Colombo, okay, and his Hebrew crowd of businessmen that showed up. And I always liked that the touch of, with a touch of irony, how, what was it, by the second day on the island of San Salvador, that they managed to dismember virtually every Indian that they could get their hands on. Arawak and Carib Indians, they cut their left hands off to punish them for not turning over their gold. Okay.
So this must be the day after that Wanakata Gari took Christopher Columbus by the arm and brought him ashore, and then told all of his tribe to go and help unload all the ships for him.
Right, the 3 ships. Right. By the way, that's all confirmed. Very interesting book. I don't know if the listeners can see this cover. Okay, it's
Lift it up a bit.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay. I recommend that everyone go read this book. Okay, it's just the kind of book that who's the CEO of Facebook?
Mark Zuckerberg.
Mark Zuckerberg. He will be very angry. Okay, to find out that this book even exists.
What's the name of it?
Okay, this book is called The Host and the Parasite, How Israel's Fifth Column Consumed America. And I recognize several people on the cover of this myself. You know, your fellow Native American and Scotsman, okay, both victimized by the Judeo-Christian form of religion that wiped out North America, literally wiped out and enslaved North America. Just ask the folks that have been practicing security since 1492, the Native American. So what I have, okay, I don't have much, much really. I just a couple of things that just caught my eye today. First of all, guess what? Okay, the next Social Security crisis. Now, I'm in my sixth decade, and we have this issue. Okay, you can see it right here. All right, and on the front, what do we have on the front? Okay, we have George W. Bush, and Bill Clinton, okay? And I find that interesting. Wasn't there a great big fiasco with George W. Bush concerning his attempt to give access to his buddies to completely rip off and drain the Social Security system? And then his buffoon mother actually got with the Grey Panthers, a meeting of the Grey Panthers, and she said, as if the Bushes have ever needed to draw Social Security. Right. Get it? It's like the Rockefellers drawing Social Security, the Rothschilds drawing Social Security. How many of them do you think really needed that? Okay. Mm-hmm. Well, so what Barbara says, and I remember this to this day, with her eyes turned to heaven and a sanctimonious tone holier than thou, she says, do you think I would let my son do anything to endanger Social Security? Oh my goodness. I thought, okay, you miserable, vitriolic, venomous frump. Okay, great. All right, wonderful. And let's find out how many millions your husband has been responsible for destroying. All right? That the largest drug dealer in all of U.S. history.
Right.
Right, George? Okay.
Oh, I got one for him too, right here. Ah!
Right, you've got it. And then who is he sitting next to? Oh, what does this say? Game of Thrones, okay? The most surprising couple in politics. Okay, Bill Clinton, the guy who actually made $10 million a month and actually assisted in importation of cocaine into the United States to Mena, Arkansas. Oh, Tom Cruise just made a movie about it, okay? I mean, and these two mass murdering thugs, okay, are acting, they're trying to carry on like they're celebrities, like they have something to offer the human race. Oh, really? George works out with his Israeli buddies a way to bomb the World Trade Center, slaughter 3,000 people. And then, who did I see when I was forcibly reverse drafted to go to Iraq? Who do I see in Abu Ghraib? Israelis instructing on torture, interrogation. Now, let me see. Now, the direct CEO of who is it now? Google, okay, not Google, Facebook, is upset because somebody said something that he didn't like about Israel. No, didn't I go, please, and have everybody calling, didn't I go to Iraq to protect the rights, the Bill of Rights, the Constitution against enemies, foreign and domestic, against this kind of behavior? Our internal people, our internal souls, okay, destroying America, slaughtering Americans on U.S. soil, all right? Pretty much what the Civil War did. And here they are carrying on like celebrities. Okay, here. Let me read, like I say, I'm not using much imagination today. So,
That's great, though. It's a good point. It really is.
Here, and this is from George W. Bush, State of the Union Address, January 28th, 2003. In short order, I was on a plane to the country of Iraq, all right, for the invasion of Iraq. And this person right here, right there, okay, knew that he had sold VX gas. His family had sold VX gas with the help of Mr. Bernstein and of the, the Carlyle Group. Okay, that's what the bills of lading and shipment said on the packaging, shipping cases, underground in Balad Air Base, okay, Iraq. That's what these bills of documentation and lading said, all right, that his family ordered it. It was his family who started the company, Carlyle Group, all right? And just about that time, to help pay for all of this, was it the Bank of Credit and Commerce International, BACI, okay, was going under, okay? They had ripped off several hundred billion and then paid all these dictators for all of these drugs and weapons. And here's this smug son of a bitch having the nerve to act like he's a celebrity, all right? Yes, I'm pissed, but hey, my listeners have seen this. Here, let me give you some really interesting, well-prepped up, well-thought-out sentences that George W. Bush told the American people, justifying the slaughter of 12 to 15,000 more U.S. soldiers and 1 million Iraqis. Our intelligence officials, well, there's an ambivalent term, estimate that Saddam Hussein had the materials to produce as much as 500 tons of sarin, mustard, and VX nerve agent. Where have you folks heard that before? Right here.
Yeah.
In such quantities, these chemical agents could also kill untold thousands. He's not accounted for these materials. He has given no evidence that he has destroyed them. We do not know, we do not claim to know all the ways of providence. OMG, there's a sanctimonious term if I ever heard of one, phony self-righteous bastard. And yet we can trust in them, placing our confidence in the loving God behind all of life. Excuse me, I'm getting misty-eyed here, okay? And all of history. May he guide us now. I'm going weak-kneed here. He may guide us now, and may God continue.
Oh, there it is.
The United States of America. All right. This was George W. Bush, State of the Union Address, January 28th, 2003. Okay, and this was before I was actually sent there, of course. And he smugly sat there and received his videos every night of the hideous torture that my fellow associates were doing to the Iraqis. They were sent out on a diplomatic pouch. Now that's diplomacy, wink, wink, real diplomacy. What do they call it? Shotgun diplomacy? Well, what is there to say? And this guy, he's given the Medal of Honor, not Medal of Honor, he's given the Medal of Freedom. I will never get a Medal of Freedom. Dick Cheney got a Medal of Freedom. I'll never get a Medal of Freedom. George Tenet, okay, Mr. I'm upset about 9/11. Remember George Tenet say that?
Right.
Director of the CIA? Well, funny thing is, did you pick up the newspaper? Has anybody picked up the newspaper in the last 24 hours? Okay. Well, I suggest you do, to see just what kind of leaders we have running the CIA.
Yeah.
Pick up a paper. All of you read what's gotten through our Jewish-controlled, Hebrew-controlled newspapers, what you can see, okay? John Brennan, okay, the former head of the CIA. Find out what they're finding out about John Brennan. Okay. Now,
Greg, I want you to look something up for me. And I found this, and I can't put it up on the screen right now, but I want you to look at that. It's an anonymous thread, 2/15/18, Thursday, 12/43/21. Okay,
Yes.
and it says MK Ultra was a success and went into implementation. It's no longer called MK Ultra. That was the development program name.
Right. That's all true. Okay.
That looked very, very verifiable to me, and I wanted to share that on this show.
Good. Thank you. Because a few months later, when I requested an investigation into the what was it? What do they call that? Enhanced interrogation methods. Okay. Kids being slaughtered, brutalized, butchered, set on fire. I guess those are enhanced interrogation methods, and I guess they're approved by the. They were originally approved by the man who created the Franklin scandal. Okay, I mean, remember the Franklin scandal? Little black boys being tortured.
Interesting you should say that, because I have a picture right here of kids, and they're saying, please stop psychiatric drugging of kids. That's a kid with a sign right there. So you were talking in one breath. You were talking about doping us up, and you were talking about the Franklin scandal, and I have a kid holding up a sign.
What, 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, I said, look, these kids now have been programmed to be on psychiatric control drugs, SAIOs, SEAIOs, ominous, wonderful acronyms, from birth to death, from cradle to grave. These drugs are being pushed, and there is our wonderful politicians that we have voted in to protect us, guard our best interests, selling us out to big pharma every step of the way, pimped out. All right, bend over in the shower, taking it for rent. Okay, that's who is doing this. Okay, and now we have, since what is it, the first of the year, we have had 18 school shootings.
Well, they're not exactly 18. Okay, it sounds really good, and the media pushed it as 18. But what happens is you have one gun accidentally going off here, one person shooting somebody else by accident here, and they're using all those together. So the other 17 weren't as bad as what we just saw.
Oh, okay. Sorry,
but
I was thinking places like Las Vegas too, just a few weeks ago.
This is an ADHD post that we posted last time, and I want to pass it again. We're looking at it right now, and I want people to pause the video to see what it says. And we're really drugging our kids.
Of course we are.
I wanted to chime in on that, Greg. Thank you for mentioning that.
Absolutely. I mean, and how many weeks ago was it that we had 58 people slaughtered at a outdoor concert, and we still can't get a straight answer. And that brings up the FBI. I got a call from a friend who was he's trying right now to get his grandson and his son-in-law, okay, that's father and son, out of jail because they made the mistake of taking two rifles and going out and doing a target practice, okay? No one saw them. No one filed a complaint. No one heard about it. Well, the father filmed this whole episode and then put it on the internet, okay? Funny thing, guess who shows up on their doorstep within a few days? The FBI, okay? The FBI, I'm very familiar with them, very unimpressed, and to boot. Now here's the question that I have. How many disasters have we seen? The first bombing of the World Trade Center, 9/11, it goes on and on. every single time. And this shooting too, this last shooting in Florida, wasn't the FBI there with somebody penetrating the group? Okay, penetrating the group. Same way the guy in Orlando. All right, and they've been watching him for months. They've been under observation for months.
Right.
I mean, please, it's easier if the FBI isn't trying to investigate. I mean, we've got thousands and thousands of people, foreign wars, because the FBI had it all under control. And now we're finding out that the FBI seems to be able to set up, entrap, frame people, especially from the Middle East. Okay, they're bribing them, they're extorting, indictable acts out of them. I mean, it goes on and on. Now, I warned, myself called up the FBI and said, look, here's what's going on with ISIS. This is before ISIS actually took over the whole shooting match in the Middle East. Okay, here's what's going on. Here's who's doing it. Here's how they're doing it. Here's where their weapons markets are. Here's where their WMD detonators are. Okay, and of course, look what happened. Okay, the rest is history. No one knows where Abu Bakr al-Baghdadi is. All right. Do you think ISIS is really finished? Okay. It's like saying, do you think Ebola, I just saw that name on your list.
Yes.
Ebola, you think Ebola is really done? It's because Big Pharma doesn't want you to see what's going on in the darkest part of Africa, in the darkest heart of Africa. Okay. That's what they don't want you to see. It's Ebola is kicking thousands of people's butts right now. Okay. It's almost 100% fatal, terminal. Okay. It's like the Klebsiella virus. Okay. Kleb S. Okay. We have headed this way. The Chinese 100% fatal pneumonia inducing virus. Okay. What was it? 2 weeks ago? 2 weeks ago, 5 Chinese walked in. Okay. Yeah. They were in a car crash, walked into a hospital. Okay. They walked out a few hours later. Within a day or two, they were all dead. All right. Wow. From Klebsiella. Okay. Yeah. Now, have you heard anything about this? Oh, because Big Pharma can't make enough money and they're not set up to handle this properly. But what did I say? Now, I've said this many times. The winds go from west to east.
Prevailing winds. Oh, before you stop talking about the FBI, there was a really good comment, and I wanted your comment on this one. They said that, it's a quote, they said that the FBI is behind 100% of the school shootings.
They're behind 100% of the school. What are they endorsing? The school shootings?
That's what he said, and I find it's very accurate. It's always what we find every time.
Well, I heard on that school shooting issue in sunny Florida was something like they were watching this guy already.
Yes.
And and nothing happened.
They failed to act. Right.
Right. Okay. I don't understand it. But here, let me read something else I have here. Only a free and unrestrained press, that's a common subject matter now, can effectively expose deception in government. Now, why do you think, why do you think the CIA effectively purchased all 6 major outlets of the press? Okay? And paramount among the responsibilities of a free press is the duty to prevent any part of the government from deceiving the people and sending them off to distant lands to die of foreign fevers and foreign shot and shell. Do I need to explain this?
Actually, a Florida court gave the right to Fox News to lie, invent, and push propaganda. That's a 2003 Florida court decision. You can actually look it up.
Well, that came from Hugo L. Black, Associate Justice, U.S. Supreme Court, the New York Times versus the United States, 1971. Mm-hmm. That was landmark in the fact that, yes, the Pentagon Papers were in full conflict, raging about what America had done and specifically Richard Nixon in Vietnam, okay, in Vietnam. And they were keeping the fact that we were losing dramatically several thousand people a month, soldiers a month, to keep up a war we could not win. All right? That's what that response was.
Wow.
So people, the answers are right in front of you. All you need to do is pick up a history book. There's nothing new that's invented, ever. It's already been invented for you. You just have to remember it, all right? You know, you don't have to be a whistleblower, okay? And remember, okay, it was Obama. What was President Obama's first and main target of prosecution? Whistleblowers, you know, and I've hardly seen any kind of protest over people that have put their life on the line, like myself, stood up, did the right thing. Remember, they don't say that term now too often anymore. Did the right thing. And then I saw Obama say this about Bradley Manning. Of course he's a criminal. Of course he's going to prison. This is before he had his trial, all right? And he's a whistleblower. He's going to prison. John Kiriakou, I'm sorry, not Kiriakou.
Yeah.
Okay. Stood up when something wasn't right and protested against Abu Zubaydah being tortured. Now, Abu Zubaydah, this little fact gets away from everybody. He had already been shot 2 or 3 times during capture. And what they did was his CIA handlers and interrogators refused to give him medical treatment for being shot 2 or 3 times. He was semi-conscious, basically unconscious, all right? And when he protested, John Kiriakou protested, what did he get? Our government was so grateful for having their flaws pointed out in these, fighting terrorists. Gotta fight them terrorists, okay? Remember those terrorists? Gotta fight them. Hell, to quote George W. Bush, they try to kill my daddy, okay? All right, see what kind of morons, imbeciles, half-wits we've had in the office. You know, we have Bill Clinton, okay, making a fortune off of drug dealing, but I didn't inhale, okay. And then we've got George W. Bush, who got booted out of the Texas National Guard because he was so high in his cockpit of his plane, okay, that he couldn't get his plane down on the ground. Funny how they hid that. And then he was AWOL. Funny how they hid that, okay? So, you know, that's what we have here is buffoonery at its finest. And now, what did I hear? Okay, some more nonsense going on today, okay, from H.R. McMaster, who I greatly admire, by the way, security advisor, president, all right, how the evidence isn't pointing to the fact that the Russians actually distorted or have tried to affect the campaign. Of course they did. Gee, how many campaigns have we tried to distort or affect? The United States of America. Any clues? Ask Canada, ask Germany, ask France, ask Brazil. Okay, it goes on and on. But hey, something about a presidential candidate selling the strategic nuclear arms edge to the head of Russia. Now, who was that? You think it was Donald, Buffon Trump? Okay, no, it wasn't. All right, wasn't the Orange Crusher. Okay, here's the deal. Okay, it was Hillary Clinton. Okay, gee, you don't think she learned a thing or two being married to Slick Willie? Okay, of course she did. All right, and they're two confirmed sociopaths to boot. What
Absolutely.
is it? You have to get tested before you can run for president to find out whether you're a real sociopath? More like psychopath than Hillary's. Okay? Yeah. I'm sorry. Yeah. It's just one of those days where, you know, the sun is shining on my face. Everything's okay. I haven't seen any chemtrails sprayed this morning. Okay? So I'm feeling pretty good. Okay? So, hey, chemtrails, remember, west to east. All right? And then look at Big Pharma. Big Pharma, and I think I said this on your show a couple of weeks ago. Look, hey, notice how all these flus and all these diseases and all these bad things are happening, but they're happening every business quarter. Justify a great big return every business quarter now. See, we've got the genetic programming to go ahead, if not in a civilian facility, in a military facility, produce, you know, weapons of mass destruction. Okay. Oh, gee, you don't think we have it? Chemicals, biologicals, radiologicals.
Deadly viruses too?
Yeah. And hey, let's test them. We need to test them. And now they act like it's law, like they can do it.
Right.
Oh, it's okay. And on top of everything else, people, you're paying for it. All right? I can't make it any simpler.
But I mean, shows like this are really meant for people to wake up and to help them understand what's going on in a deeper level. So, Greg, we've come to the end of the show again, but as usual, I have to thank you for your courage and your, you know, it's bravery is what it is, because, you know, being a wanted man, it must be nice, but it's not wanted by women, unfortunately. But that's okay for you, but not, you know, not for me. But anyway. we want to thank you for being on, and I'm going to say it before you do. I want to thank all our listeners for being with us, and for actually they're really being good to us. We haven't had any comments at all, good or bad, maybe one or two in 101 shows.
Mm-hmm. Were those good or bad?
They were good. One was you know, you lost me when you started talking about religion, but you know, whatever.
Well, I started talking about Israel.
That's what I mean. And it's really, it's sad to see, you know, you're talking about Israel, you're talking about Netanyahu and how they talk so well. I want to put another one on that list. I looked at Obama today talking about gun control and talking about Chicago, and he's so sly the way he talks, and he takes a question and he wraps around it, and then he brings it over here and he talks about something else, and he's really smooth at talking, really impressive. He's a snake is what it is.
Well,
in the tall grass.
All I can say is, if you think history doesn't change, I just have one word of one place. Look at Qumran. All right, I'll say that for our history buffs. The little town of Qumran. All right. And what did Qumran give us? The Dead Sea Scrolls. Okay. So if you think all this is new, that we're so sophisticated, we thought of something new, forget it. Forget it. All right. Look at the kind of shape that the biblical Holy Lands were in. All right. You know, when Qumran, when those scrolls, the Dead Sea Scrolls, were placed in those clay vessels and stored in those caves, look at what kind of shape the Middle East was in. Look what the Romans were doing, and the Jews. And they were called Jews. I know it doesn't sound politically correct. They were Jews, and that's why they were recorded in history. And their behavior was recorded in history. All right? So think something has changed, forget it. It hasn't. Okay, my friend.
But don't believe us. Do your research. This is what I love about this show. So we're giving it to you on a silver platter. Greg, thank you so much. And we'll talk again in 2 days, 3 days.
Can't wait. Okay, Luca.
Thank you.
Take care.